Hi there, class. We're going to go over lesson 5. This is called solving for right angle triangles when you're given one missing side and one angle. So in our last lesson, we did when we had two sides, no angles, but now we're going to do one side, one angle, and that's how we're going to do that. So by the end of this lesson, you'll know how to solve for a side or an angle if you're given one missing side and one angle in a right triangle. So just like I did with our last lesson, I'm going to give you steps for finding this. When you're doing a test or a quiz, these you can have written down in front of you. These are probably the steps that you should know how to do. And the first thing is going to be locate the angle that you want to work with. So today we learned about this. We called this the angle of reference, right? It's the angle that, you're going to do everything from. So that's the angle that you're going to use to tell us what the sides are. So then we're going to go ahead and label our sides: hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. You can use the short term. I don't need you to write it all out. And then you're going to decide on which trig ratios you're going to use. So you're going to find which sides are given to you, right? And then you're going to go and find which sides you're trying to find, right? And then doing that, you can go in, solve for x. If x is on the top of the trig ratio, it's really easy. You're just going to multiply, right? But if it's on the bottom of the ratio, you need to set up a proportion t or switch the places. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to do this. It's just easier if you watch me go through and do an example, right? Because while this seems really confusing, if we do a few examples together, they'll make more sense. Okay, so obviously our angle is going to be the 23 degrees over here. Let's go ahead and label. It says first thing, locate the angle. We did that. Second thing, label. So this is going to be our hypotenuse, right? This is going to be our opposite. And then this is going to be our adjacent, right? We're trying to find out what x is. So here, let's go find out what we're given. We're given that the hypotenuse is equal to 10. We know that x is equal to the op is equal to x. And we know that the angle, we already know what it is. We know the angle is 23 degrees. So we're given the hypotenuse, we're given the opposite, and we're given the angle. So what we're looking for is opposite. So let's use hypotenuse and opposite. If we go back and look at SOHCAHTOA, it's going to be sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So let's go write that out for ourselves. Right, so sine 30 is equal to opposite, which is just x, over hypotenuse, which is going to be our 10. Right, and now since this is x divided by 10, to get rid of the 10 on this side and get the x by itself, I'm just going to do multiplied by 10 on both sides. So I'm just going to go into my calculator. I'm going to say, okay, sine 30 times 10 is going to give us x. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to pull up sine 30, right, multiplied by 10. And the answer is going to be 5. So I know that 5 is equal to x. So I know that the length of this side x is 5 centimeters. And I'm going to go ahead and write myself a therefore statement. Okay. So I want you to, I'm going to actually show you 9 because this is like where that proportion tree falls into place. So I want to show you that one, and then I'm going to have you actually go ahead and practice 3 by yourself. That one doesn't require proportion tree, so you can try that by yourself. But I do want to show you number 2, and then we have number 4 as well here that are a little bit more tricky questions. Okay, so let's go in here to number 2. Right, so we have this angle of reference. It's right there. This over here is going to be our opposite. This is our hypotenuse, the diagonal, and this is our adjacent. So we went and found the angle. Let's go ahead and find out what we're given. So we're given the angle, which is just 32 degrees. We are given the hypotenuse, which is x, right? And we're given the adjacent. So if we're given, and the adjacent is just 9. So if we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse, let's go back up here. That's going to be cosine. So required, I'm just going to go ahead and write cosine theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And let's go plug in what we have. So cosine, the angle is going to be 32. Adjacent is going to be 9. The hypotenuse is x. So notice how x is in the denominator, right? This is where we're going to have to do a little bit of trickery. So we're just going to pretend that this is over 1. So when you look at something like this, you can just cross multiply. So you can say cosine 32 times x and then 9 times 1, right? So then cosine 32 times x is equal to 9 times 1, right? Because you're trying to get rid of this x at the bottom here. So you got to multiply this side by x. Now, I want to get that x by itself, which means that I need to do an additional step here and do divided by cosine 32 divided by cosine 32, right? Now this is gone, so I'm left with x is equal to 9 times 1 is just 9 divided by cosine 32. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and plug this into my calculator. So I'm going to clear all here. So 9 divided by, and I like to put this in brackets, cosine 32. And that is my answer. It's 10.61. So I'm just going to keep it at 10.6. So x is equal to 10.6, and then I think it was centimeters that we were working with. Centimeters. Okay. So now what I want you to do is on your own, try doing 3 and 4, and then we'll take them up. So pause the video here, try going through both of those on your own, and then we'll take up the answers together as a class. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 with you. Okay, so hopefully you took the chance to do that on your own. So let's take up 3. So that's going to be our angle of reference. I'm going to go ahead and label this. I'm going to say opposite. Always label it first. This is the hypotenuse. This is the adjacent. Right? So SOHCAHTOA, I have, let's go figure out what I'm given. I am given the adjacent. I know that's x. I know the opposite is 16 centimeters. And then the hypotenuse here, I don't have. So I'm not even going to write it in. And I know my angle, so theta, or you can write angle, whatever you want to write here. You use theta in math, is set 47. Right? So if I have adjacent and opposite op, I'm just going to go up here and be like, okay, what can I use? I can't use I need the hypotenuse. I can't use I need the hypotenuse, but I can use TOA, so I can use tan. So I know tan theta is equal to TOA is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to say, okay, tan 47 is equal to 16 over x, right? And now we got to do that proportion stuff again. So I want to get rid of the x down here. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So I'm left with tan 47 times x is equal to 16. Now I want to get that x by itself, so I got to divide by tan 47. Right? Divide by tan 47. So my x is going to be, x is equal to 16 divided by tan 47. So let's go do that. Let's clear this. 16 divided by tan 47. And it's 14.92. So I'm going to say 14.9. So x is equal to 14.9 centimeters. Therefore, side x is 14.9 centimeters. Okay? And that is the answer. Last but not least, let's go ahead and do this one. So again, our angle of reference is here. We're just going to go ahead, label the hypotenuse. This is the opposite. And this is the adjacent. Right? So we have all of that labeled. Let's go figure out what we have. So what we're given. Our given here is, if I look at this, I have the op. It's going to be 4 centimeters. I have the height, which is x. And I have the angle, which is 63. Right? So if I have up and I have height, I can use sine. So sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Right? Sine 63 is equal to, the opposite was 4 divided by x. And again, because that x is in the denominator, I got to get rid of it on both sides. So I'm left with that. So I'm left with x multiplied by sine 63 is equal to 4. I want to get rid of the sine 63 so I can get the x by itself. So this will cancel out, so I'm left with x equals 4 divided by sine 63, so let's go do that. And that's 4.48. So we can say it's about 4.5. And I think it was also centimeters. So then we know that side x, therefore side x is 4.5 centimeters. This is one of those things where honestly practice makes perfect. So take some time now and try doing your homework. It'll make a really big difference if you know how to do this, because you'll see different types of questions. But basically what you're doing is you're going to go plug in, instead of plugging in like we did yesterday, just the sides, what you're doing is now you have a side that you don't know, right? And you're going to go plug in the angle, and the angle is theta. Right? So when we have sine theta equals cos, or equals op over hyp, right? Now instead of having to find out what inverse sine is, you can just do multiplication regularly and click sine. Okay? And that is the end of our lesson. Homework is posted on Google Classroom. So please check that out. And also, if you could, please submit your lesson after you have finished writing it all out. Thank you. Have a great day.